Right. Notes 3.3, parallel lines and transversals. First thing, parallel lines, they always remain the same distance apart and will never intersect. So they're always the same distance apart and they never intersect. The new vocab term, a transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines. So a transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines. And when we have two parallel lines, they're cut by a transversal. So we have our two parallel lines. There's our two parallel lines. Cut by a transversal. Eight angles are formed. So we have 8 angles. And we're going to look at these angles and different properties that we can get out of these 8 angles. So the first thing we can figure out, vertical angles. So vertical angles are angles that are always directly opposite of each other. So vertical angles are always opposite each other when two lines intersect, and they are always congruent. So these are always congruent. So they're always congruent. So vertical angles are always congruent. So these are opposite of each other. So we have our pairs. Well, 1 and 3 are opposite of each other. So angle 1 and angle 3. Angle 2 and angle 4. So angle 2 and angle 4. Angle 5 and 7. And then angle 6 and 8. So they're all the vertical angles. So they are always congruent. So when we have parallel lines cut by a transversal, vertical angles, always congruent. The next one, we have corresponding angles. When angles are formed by two parallel lines cut by the transversal, these angles, they're in the same position. Angles that are in the same position, so they're in the same position, but they're on separate lines. So they're in the same position, but on separate lines. Alright, and these angles are always congruent. They're always congruent. So they're in the same position, but on different lines. So we have line A here, and then we have line B here. So corresponding angles, well, if we look at angle A, or not angle A, we'll choose angle 1, well, that's on the top left. Well, if we look at this one, that's angle 5. So they're in the same position. So angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding. They're in the same position, and they're always going to be congruent. And then if we look at angle 2, well, that's in the same position as angle 6. Angle 2 and angle 6. Angle 4, angle 8, angle 4, and angle 8 corresponding, and then which leaves the last one, angle 3 and angle 7. So they're in the same position on the two lines. So same position, separate lines. So corresponding, and they're always congruent. Then we have alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles. So a pair of angles that at the interior of two lines. So the interior of two lines, so they're on the inside, but on opposite sides. So they're on opposite sides of the transversal. If the lines are parallel, then the angles are, they are congruent. These angles are congruent. So they're congruent. So they're on the inside. Well, if we look at our parallel lines cut by the transversal angle, line A, line B. So we're talking about the inside angles, so the angles that are on the inside. So here's the inside. And then it says they are on opposite sides. Well, angle 4 and angle 6. So angle 4 and angle 6 are alternate interior, which leaves us with angles 3 and 5. So angle 3 and angle 5 are also alternate interior. So they're on the inside and opposite. So these guys are opposite of each other, and so are 4 and 6. These are opposite of each other. Then we get to alternate exterior, a pair of angles at the exterior. So these ones are on the exterior of a set of lines, but on opposite sides of the transversal. So they're on opposite sides of the transversal, and these angles are congruent. So once again, if we look at our two lines, here's A, and here's B, and we want the angles on the outside. That's the exterior. So the exterior. And then it says angles that are on opposite sides of the transversal. Well, angle 1 is on the left side. Angle 7 is on the right side. Opposite angles, or opposite sides, angle 1 and angle 7. And then we have angle 2 and angle 8. Angle 2 and angle 8. They are alternate interior angles. They are on the outside and on the opposite sides of the transversal. The same side interior angles. A pair of angles on the interior of a set of lines. So they're on the interior of a set of lines, but on the same side of the transversal. So they're on the inside, but on the same side. If the lines are parallel, then the angles are, I hope you didn't write down congruent, these are supplementary. These angles are not congruent, they're supplementary. They're 180 degrees. So if we look at this, and we have, here's line A, and here's line B, and if we look at this, well, same side, angle 3 and angle 6 are on the same side. Well, if we know that angle 6 and angle 2 are the same, corresponding, and 2 and 3 are a linear pair, add up to be 180, we can substitute 6 in for 2. That's why these are supplementary. Alright, so angle 3 and angle 6. They add up to be 180 degrees. And then you also have angles 4 and 5. Same side. Interior angles. Add up to be 180 degrees. They are supplementary angles. Then the last one, the same side exterior. A pair of angles on the exterior, on the outside of a set of lines, but on the same side of the transversal. If the lines are parallel and the angles are supplementary, 180 degrees. So if we look at this again, we have line A, line B. We're talking about the outside angles now, so we want these. Here's my outside, so the same side. That's angle 2 and angle 7, Well, we can say angle 2 and angle 6 are the same. 6 and 7 are a linear pair, are 180, so angle 2 replaces angle 6, which is why that angle 2 and angle 7 have to be 180 degrees, and they have to be supplementary. And then we also have angles 1 and 8. So angles 1 and angle 8. And now if you flip this over, there's 3 examples on the back. So the first one, if the measure of angle 2 is 130 degrees, then what are the measures of these 7 other angles? Well, if this is 130 degrees, we can start naming all of them. Well, we would know that angle 2 and angle 8 are corresponding, so that's 130 degrees. We know that angle 2 and angle 5 are vertical angles, so this is 130 degrees. We know that angle 2 and angle 4 are alternate exterior angles, so that means this is 130 degrees. We know that angle 1 and angle 2 are a linear pair, add up to be 180 degrees. We know that angle 2 and angle 7 are a linear pair, add up to be 180 degrees. We know that angle 2 and angle 6 are alternate or same side exterior angles, add up to be 180 degrees. So that just leaves us with angle 3. Well, we can say angle 3 and angle 6 are vertical. We can say that angle 3 and angle 7 are alternate interior. 3 and 5 are same side interior. So we know that angle 3 is 50. And then you also see the pattern that they make. Now there's 2 more examples down there trying to find the angles of those figures, and we will go over them tomorrow in class. Good luck.